Now see this. A 14-year-old plays highway pinball, but in the end, it's game over. A deer in danger of drowning leaves park rangers in over their heads. And pulling a handstand at 50 miles an hour is not just like riding a bike. A truck catches air. A cop saves a pair.
Okay, sheriff's unit now trying to throw his jacket in.
And a crook delivers a scare.
You see the gun laying on the mail right there.
Think you've seen it all? Now see this. For some people, the most dangerous part of this very steep road in Carbon County, Pennsylvania, isn't found on the pavement. It's off-road, on the runaway truck ramp. A special lane that should prevent injury to a driver who has suddenly lost his brakes. But not everyone sees it that way.
It's such a dangerous ramp, the way it's set up right now with the stones piled high, and it's just regular gravel from the road with a lot of dirt mixed in it. And when the trucks hit this, it's like a launching pad. It's basically a suicide ramp.
Runaway truck ramps are usually flat with gradually deepening gravel that slows a truck down. But hitting the first of these 5-foot-tall mounds will send a semi flying. At least that's how it's worked several times in the past. Fortunately, there have been no major casualties, but the state is debating a change in design. So a news crew from a local station has come here to get footage for the upcoming story. But what they capture will go beyond their wildest expectations.
Are you all right? Sir, you all right? Shit. I got that on tape.
Unbelievably, the driver walks away from this horrible wreck. A crewman hurries out to find Derek Snisky, bloodied but alive.
You all right? A little bumped up. Oh, it sucks.
Cameraman Robert Gill keeps his camera rolling, but he almost missed the big shot completely.
I was about to turn off the camera, but I turned around and I saw the truck veering towards the ramp. So I just kept the camera as it was. I was very surprised at how the truck lane worked. I was not expecting the truck to be flipped into the air like that.
The crew calls 911, and within minutes, rescue personnel are on the scene. It turns out the truck's massive cargo of wheel rims, combined with its speed, was simply too much for the brakes to handle. Derek Snisky is lucky to receive only minor cuts. Robert Gill can't believe his good fortune either. His station, TV13, has been following the story for months.
But how safe is this runaway truck ramp?
They say even with these humps, this ramp is safe.
But he's the one who captured the perfect footage to give his very small station a very big scoop.
TV13 catches proof on tape that a runaway truck ramp in Nesquehoning does not work the way it's supposed to.
I was very lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
Also following the story has been County Commissioner Tom Gerhard.
There's a lot of school buses come down here. God forbid that one of the school buses would ever hit here, because there's no seatbelts in the school buses.
For now, to the dismay of many residents, the ramp remains unchanged. And if there ever is another accident, it's unlikely that everyone involved will be as lucky as they were today.
Sir, you all right? Shit. I got that on tape.
At a community pool in Olney, Maryland, frolic has turned to fear. An hour ago, 5-year-old Jennifer Kennel came here to escape the scorching 98-degree summer heat. But now she can't escape the pool. Her little hand is trapped inside an intake pipe, and she's beginning to lose feeling in her fingers.
The lifeguards came, they blew the whistles, so everyone got out of the pool, and then they called 911, and the firefighters came.
Jennifer's nanny holds and reassures her, while a worried mother races to the scene.
As I'm driving up to the pool, I'm seeing things that were very out of the ordinary. There were like a couple helicopters in the sky, big jet of water shooting over into the trees. They were basically lowering the pool because the way her hand had been sucked into the wall. If she'd been standing on the bottom, the water would have been above her nose.
Jennifer's mother learns that the accident could have been avoided if the 2-inch PVC suction pipe had been capped, the way it should have been.
Unfortunately, the cap on this hole had been stripped, and they found it later lying on the bottom of the pool.
Now 50 firefighters, including an underwater rescue team, are attacking the problem from all angles.
They tried lubricating her hand to get it out. They put a little camera down under the water so they could see how her hand was trapped.
But the camera's pictures were inconclusive, and the soap and oil they injected into the hole are not working. Her hand is swollen to such dangerous levels, it's created an airtight seal in the pipe. And even though the vacuum pump was turned off an hour ago, there's still enough leftover suction in the line to keep her hand jammed firmly in place. Everyone fears what might happen if the swelling doesn't go down soon.
This had been, under pressure for such a long period of time that if the tissues continued to swell, then it really could, bad things could happen.
Prevent any permanent nerve damage, they have to access the pipe and relieve the pressure as quickly as possible. They bring in a heavy-duty concrete saw to cut through the 4-inch thick pool deck, a process that requires multiple safety measures.
They built a nice shelter around Jennifer so that the concrete wouldn't fly up in her face, because basically she was trapped and wouldn't be able to duck.
They pound away at the slab with a sledgehammer, then frantically dig and pry loose the debris. It's been over 2 hours in the blazing midday sun since Jennifer began her ordeal. And now she's starting to wilt in the heat. While she bravely hangs on, the workers finally reach the pipe. They break into a section on the other side of Jennifer's hand. The result is exactly what they hoped for.
It must have just relieved enough pressure off of her arm so that they could pull her hand out at that time.
Jennifer is rushed onto a waiting stretcher. She's not out of danger yet.
I felt a little happy, and I thought I was gonna go home, but they took me to a helicopter so I could go to the children's hospital.
Fortunately, doctors soon determined that there's been no permanent tissue damage. Also remaining intact was Jennifer's unsinkable spirit.
I was scared at the beginning, but brave at the end.
You were brave at the end.
Warning, objects in mirror may be more dangerous than they appear.
You see the gun laying on the male right there. 2 firearms. One looks like a semi-automatic, the other's a revolver.
The United States Post Office guarantees uninterrupted service through rain, sleet, or snow. But armed robbery is another story.
Metro Police are in pursuit of this male vehicle that was apparently stolen.
Moments ago, an angry gunman accosted Florida postal worker and mother of 2, Tanya Mitchell. But police were right around the corner, and when the suspect saw them, he hopped in the vehicle and ran. Unfortunately, before he made off with the mail truck, the crook took out an insurance policy. Tanya Mitchell, seen here behind the wheel. The suspect crouches behind the hostage, and with his gun raised, orders her to drive.
Well, right now there's about 7 police units. The remaining clear.
The chase is being nationally televised, and the suspect is not happy about his newfound notoriety. He orders his hostage to stop next to a man on a cell phone.
He just told that guy something.
The suspect leaves the pedestrian with a chilling message to relay to his pursuers, be they police or the media.
We just received word from the Metro Police chopper that as this vehicle has stopped on the sidewalk, he's threatened to shoot at the helicopters.
Ground units scale back, but at the same time, unmarked police cars discreetly buzz by the truck to make sure Tanya's okay.
I'm receiving word right now that they're going to attempt to force them to go north on 27th Avenue.
Officers get ahead of the man to block off traffic and lay down spike strips. But while they're making plans to shut the pursuit down, the suspect is making his own plans to buy himself more time.
They're slowing down here.
Once again, the gunman orders Tanya to stop next to a pedestrian. He's trying to get a cell phone so that he can communicate his demands to officers. But when the suspect doesn't get what he wants, the bystander suddenly finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun.
Oh man, you know, I'm hesitant to zoom in here when he pulls up on a person because you never know. It's capable of doing anything.
Officers don't want to put Tanya Mitchell more at risk, but if they don't capture the suspect soon, no one is safe. Intersections are shut down, and ground units try to funnel the suspect toward the spike strips. But they also have a lethal plan B, and they're only minutes away from putting it into action.
That's a sniper. He's hanging out and looking to fire. I mean, but that's the bottom line. He's looking for a firing position, and that's it.
Luckily, it doesn't come to that. Before long, police from several different counties have every escape route blocked.
Every one of these cars you see here is a police vehicle. There are no civilian cars here at this point. They're unmarked police vehicles.
The suspect orders Tanya to keep driving, but the only place left to go is right over the spikes.
Need cover.
The spikes work, and the chase grinds to a halt, but the standoff has just begun. SWAT teams take up positions as the suspect hides himself and his hostage inside the truck.
I think he's barricading himself. Yeah.
A tactical police robot brings the suspect a cell phone, so talks can begin.
I think the negotiator's the guy behind that van there. And as long as that negotiator's on the phone, it's good news for the hostage.
But as the standoff drags on, members of the SWAT team run practice raids on an empty mail truck in case negotiations fail and they have to take the suspect by force.
They've been studying this for the last hour or so, just going through different scenarios. I think they're truly trying to talk this guy out of it first.
After more than 2 hours of intense negotiations, the suspect starts to wear down. It's been half a day since he's had anything to eat or drink. And the midday Miami sun keeps the temperature inside the mail truck sweltering hot. Finally, exhausted and out of options, the suspect decides to give police what they want, Tanya Mitchell's freedom. The postal worker spent the better part of her day wondering if she'd ever see her family again. Now she's on her way home for the emotional reunion. As for the suspect, he has no more bargaining chips. He knows he's completely surrounded, and it's time to surrender. Later, officers learned this wasn't the suspect's first crime. But even though he's got a 12-year history of drug trafficking and assault, the latest offense is by far his most serious.
Oh, man.
What the crook failed to realize when he hijacked this truck was that it belonged to the United States government. Now, instead of facing a local jury of his peers, he'll have to stand before a federal judge. If convicted, this career criminal will be permanently retired. These are the Vegas gamblers the tourists don't see. They don't gamble with cash. They gamble with their lives. Pauly Scherer is the Las Vegas Extremes stunt team's most legendary high roller. Whether he's anteing up in Times Square or doubling down on a Vegas back road, Scherer loves to push his luck when he's riding on two wheels. That's why today, Scherer is taken to a busy Vegas freeway to attempt a high-difficulty stunt at a high rate of speed. And he won't let the threat of 70-mile-per-hour traffic stop him. A camera car and lens mounted to his friend's helmet document the event. As Scherer accelerates into position, he's about to learn that pulling a handstand at 50 miles per hour is every bit as hard as it looks. Scherer puts all his chips on the table for this stunt, but the wheel doesn't spin in his favor. The biker tumbles onto the freeway, but his bike keeps on riding. The motorcycle's throttle is rigged to maintain speed. One of Scherer's buddies tries to keep up with the renegade bike, hoping it doesn't stray into freeway traffic.
Hey, nobody hit us! Nobody hit us!
Meanwhile, 100 yards back, Paulie Scherer gets up without a scratch. He hitches a ride to catch up to his bike, which continues its ghost ride down the road. And finally gives up, nearly a mile away. If it's a wonder that Scherer is able to walk away from the accident, then it's a miracle that his motorcycle makes it out just as well. Although these daredevils know that pulling a stunt like this out on the freeway is illegal, the rebellious gambling nature is in their blood. And whether they're drawing aces or going bust, they'll keep on trying to beat the odds. A dozen witnesses to the same event will see it a dozen different ways. The way that Los Angeles news pilot Larry Welk sees this event will decide the fate of two men.
We just happened to be flying by this flood control channel, and we saw a little fight going on in the river.
Welk was on his way to the other side of town when he spotted two men fighting on the banks of the LA River in Bellflower, California. The scuffle soon turned deadly when one of the assailants threw his victim into the drainage canal. A bystander spotted the fatigued victim, who's being swept away by the river's raging current. The man fights just to keep his head above water. Although Welk is a news reporter, he knows that his first responsibility is to call for help and aid in the man's rescue. With a bird's eye view of the river, the pilot guides LA County Sheriff's deputies to the drowning victim.
Sheriff 7, TV9er, you got one of your, I believe it's a Lakewood unit, and he's on the bridge now, he sees it.
The bystander tries to keep up with the swift current. He reaches out to pull the man from the river, but his reach isn't long enough. And before he can try again, the assailant reappears on the scene.
This guy threw him in, if you want to pass that along.
The pilot tries to relay the info to authorities, afraid of what the man might do. For all Welk knows, this guy could be there to finish the fight he started. But when the suspect jumps into the river, Welk realizes that now he's actually trying to save the person he's just thrown in. Knowing that news cameras may be rolling, the man valiantly tries to bring the victim back to shore, but he slips and almost falls victim to the undercurrent.
There's a sheriff's unit that's walking down.
Just moments ago, these men were at each other's throats. Now they're struggling together to stay afloat as the current rushes them downstream. Fortunately for them, help has just arrived.
The sheriff's unit now trying to throw his jacket in. And the sheriff got him out. Okay, your ground unit just pulled this guy out.
As far as law enforcement can tell, the suspect actually looks like a hero, risking his own life to pull another person to safety. But chopper pilot Larry Welk saw what really happened, and he's going to make sure the truth is known. As the victim and suspect catch their breath on the riverbank, Welk recounts the incident to the news station.
The same people that were involved in the fight were there to help pull him out of the river.
Welk is glad to have been witness to a rescue and not a body recovery.
Everybody is now safe up on shore.
Thanks to one news pilot's eagle eye, the life of this victim was spared. And now the handcuffed aggressor was unable to sell his own story to police.
And a lot of questions to be answered here in Bellflower.
Most teenagers can't wait to get a car of their own. The brothers in this car decided they wouldn't wait. They stole this Mercury Grand Marquis right off the dealer lot in Mansfield, Ohio. The kid riding shotgun is only 15 years old. Too young to have even taken driver's ed. Even more incredibly, the boy at the wheel is only 14.
Southbound about 100 miles an hour at this time.
Pursuing them is Trooper R.D. Randall of the Ohio Highway Patrol. He has no idea how young these kids are.
They're weaving in and out of traffic, getting away from me.
He just knows that this out-of-control car has to be stopped, if he can keep up.
Speeds are 110 to 120 at this time.
They soon approach heavy traffic, but the joyriders just bully their way through with an adolescent sense of invulnerability. When they approach a semi and a pickup side by side, they sideswipe the smaller truck to get through.
592 unit, the 21 is going to set up.
59, we have 131. However, vehicle is still rolling.
As if playing some kind of video game, they negotiate the thicket of traffic and make it through by the slimmest of margins. But the minute they get to an open stretch, they promptly lose it.
70, we have a 31A, we have 31A.
Copy 31A, you're 39.
They're simply going too fast to slow down for a car in their lane. They fishtail wildly and slam into the car's side.
Copy 31A, you're 39.
The trooper takes one look at the kids he's placing in custody and can't believe it.
What are you thinking, man? How old are you? Whose car is that? Oh, man. Stole it? Huh?
These teens treated the streets like the ultimate arcade.
59.
But after getting charged with grand theft auto and felony evasion,
70, we have a 31A, we have 31A.
they found out the hard way that they can't just put in another quarter when the game is over.
What are you thinking, man?
Police are often called upon to rescue those in trouble, but this victim is going to buck the trend. Alerted by a jogger who heard splashing, these Canadian constables find the poor deer mired in a runoff pond.
Can you go to that side and just see if you can kind of... I just don't want to go in here with it.
The pond is on a training facility owned by the Canadian Coast Guard in Port Colborne, Ontario. Because diesel fuel and other chemicals are often used in firefighting instruction, the pond is lined with a thick plastic membrane to prevent contamination of groundwater. Ironically, this environmental measure is also preventing the deer from climbing out on its own.
It's getting tired too, eh?
So the officers bring in a large piece of carpet that hopefully will enable the deer to get a foothold. Unfortunately, the deer doesn't see it that way. It's as afraid of the carpet as it is of the cops. Enter Philip Musk, groundskeeper for the Coast Guard base.
Probably exhausted trying to get out.
Philip braves the noxious water, wading through thick green algae to help the stranded deer.
Come on, then. No.
Philip is able to get a lasso over its head, but the deer panics and disappears beneath the water as it thrashes in the slippery pond.
Don't fight him! No, don't fight him.
He tries driving the deer out by splashing it,
Is there some stick or something I can just poke it?
then by poking it with a stick.
We're almost there.
Finally, the constables are able to heave the terrified animal out of the water and onto the carpet.
Just grab the carpet. I don't know, it's just, I think it's the sheer stress.
But just when it looks like they've achieved success, the cop hits the quick release button, and the disoriented deer leaps back into the water.
Oh my God!
Knowing when to give up, Philip and the constables decide to call in the pros. But how do you rescue a wild animal that doesn't realize it's being saved? First, the firemen call in a phalanx of volunteers from the local Humane Society. Then they bring in a really big ladder to use as a barricade. Problem is, the deer thinks it's just a ploy to fence him in and dives right under it. With Bambi back in position, they try the ladder trick again, this time making sure there's no escape.
See his eyes? He's gonna go right through you.
But this Canadian cowboy still can't get a lasso over the animal's head.
They're not gonna use you out west, are they?
Oh, yeah.
With the rope securely around its neck, the rescuers pull the drowning deer up onto the carpet.
Okay, once you got it on the carpet, just pull the carpet up.
But suddenly, the young buck proves it still has plenty of fight left. Finally, the firefighters drag the exhausted animal up onto the bank. After a brief breather, the worn-out mule deer is at last released into the wild from whence it came. This time, the deer gets it right.
Thank Christ.
Even though dozens of firefighters and other rescuers turned out to save the deer, the hero of the day is certainly Philip Musk, the groundskeeper who spent more than 3 hours in the murky pond.
Somebody said there was a deer trap, so I took a quick look and, fool that I am, thought that I could do it by myself. But we had to have the fire department to do the final job, I guess.
Why did he risk his hide to help the unfortunate deer?
You can't let an animal die that way. It has big eyes looking at you, and you can't let it go.